After a couple of days of building AI agents, I can say that I'm both impressed and depressed. Well, the reason why I'm impressed is because they work really good. They can solve problems in many ways better than humans. They can reason, they can figure out things. Anything that we are used about or getting used about AI in general, but given the context, given a domain, it's really interesting how effective they can be. So I'm looking forward to keep using them and see what is the best way to build them, how to teach them. It's a very interesting new challenge. So if you're a programmer and you're used to think about the algorithm, the code, and what is the best way to do things, and the complexity, the time complexity of what you're doing, well, you need to shift your mind. This is completely different. It's almost like training a human, but a very peculiar human that sometimes gets obsessed with something that you said, and you need to figure out, okay, how can I teach differently? But it's not exactly like a human. So interesting challenges in the future, but a very exciting new technology. Now, why I'm depressed? Well, the reason why I'm depressed has several parts, but the first one is when my friend Kush introduced me to the first proof of concept of how to build the agents. He used a very simple example, that it's an agent that would perform basic math operations. And well, I caught what he was trying to do, and I expanded to some of the problems that I had in my job and how that could help. But then going back to what he showed me, I realized something interesting. So one of the tools or the functions that this agent that he built could do was to do a basic addition. So 1 + 1. And I kept thinking about that. In the back of my head, I thought, well, there's something really, really wrong here, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I think that what really bugs me is that a computer is designed to do basic math operations, right? So we talk about how computers work, about the billion wires interconnected and logic gates and all of that. But basically, if you think about addition, you only need one computer cycle to do an addition of two numbers, provided that they are, in the memory where you need them and so on. So in one computer cycle, you can have the result. Now think about the agent. The agent is accessing the internet, to send the question. Then it's using your own computer to access the tool and to perform the calculation using a fairly inefficient language in itself, like Python. And imagine that. So what you're requesting, a 1 + 1, now is going to a server somewhere through satellites, through fiber optic cables down several oceans, just to perform that operation. How trillion times more inefficient than what a computer can do. Now, what's the issue with that? Well, obviously, you shouldn't be using agents to perform basic calculation, and I understand what Kush was trying to show me is, how simple it could be. But the problem is that people will be doing that. They will be abusing of this technology and making things that could be very efficient, terribly inefficient, and that means misusing energy, and all the consequences that brings. So that's the depressing part. Agents, as great as they are, can be also misused and be very, very inefficient. So only time will tell us if this will distill into something, that is better. But if history is any guide, we're facing some very inefficient times. So also, we talk about energy in general in several of these videos, but maybe sometime we will focus on that topic exclusively. But energy is what makes the rich rich and the poor poor, right? So this will create even more how can I say, even more inequality, if you will. So countries that are poor, they will also be very poor in artificial intelligence, and the richest countries will be richer even more, which I don't necessarily oppose to, but I mean, I would like technology to help people who need it the most, right? And this seems to be not the case. So, well, that would be topic for other discussion. But now some other thoughts about agents. I was talking about how they are not human, but they look like humans. So what is the main difference? And I kept thinking about that because, the Turing test, say if you can tell if you're interacting with a person or not, that will prove that you achieve artificial intelligence. And I think we're there for two reasons. First, computers are becoming smarter and people are becoming dumber. So it's, the bar is lower probably than in Turing's time. So it's easier for a computer to be considered smart as a human. But there's still some differences, and has to do. Let's go back to the agent. So when you're creating an AI agent, you need to provide three things. The first one is what they call a brain, what I will call a mind. So a brain is ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, artificial intelligence that we have available. So those are models that are trained by these big companies, and training a model that takes billions of dollars and basically gather all the information that is available, and then they build this interconnected, basically a large language model that is an interconnected set of concepts, network of concepts that I mentioned before. I believe really is the breakthrough because it imitates how our minds work. Now, what is the difference? Well, you can see the difference between humans and LLMs in the way that we train our minds. So the difference is that we humans we're constantly training our minds. Every time that we're talking to somebody, every time that we're reading something, looking around, we're learning, right? And that learning changes our mind. So the interconnection, some of those connections strengthen, some weaken, some appear, some disappear. So our minds are completely fluid all the time. And in the case of agents, they use just a fixed mind. That is that model, ChatGPT, 4.5 or whatever. Right? So that is their mind. So the other difference is that our memories are part of our mind. They're not a separate thing. And in agents, they are a separate thing because you cannot teach a large language model. Right? They only learn through training. And as I say, those trainings are done by the companies that they build them. They're not learning from you. They're not learning from your interactions. So they have kind of a fake learning that is the memory. In that memory, they store your interactions with them, right? And then with the mind and the memory, they come up with, something that seems more intelligent than it is. But really, they're not learning. That memory is separated from the mind, from the brain. Humans, we are different. Our minds are interconnected. Our memory is necessary for our minds. It wouldn't work otherwise. And the third part that you need to give an agent is tools. It's called tools. And basically it's pieces of code that would allow that to interact with the world, either by retrieving data or writing data or, I don't know, moving an arm, a robotic arm, whatever, right? It's just the interaction between that agent and the world. So you can ask it, okay, read from this database and write in this file, and then go to this website and extract this data, and then look at this picture. So you provide all those tools. So if we compare that to humans, that would be equivalent to, I would say, our nervous system, because it has to do both with the inputs, our senses, but also with our outputs, right? So our nerves moving our arms and, letting us doing some things in the real world, not just in our minds. So those are kind of philosophical differences, but I think that explains why it's still not completely, it doesn't feel completely like interacting with a human. Right? You have to think in like three things connected instead of just as one whole mind or one whole person that you're talking to. But again, it works. It works really, really well. Now, going deeper into the problems. Well, I think that AI agents are already hurting us, and they will hurt us even more in the future. Why do I say this? Well, there's a more of a philosophical, theological view about agents, about the purpose of life, what we're doing here, and so on. So indulge me into that. If you don't want to listen to me, well, this will be a good time to stop listening. I'm here in Lincoln City, Oregon, enjoying the beach and the sun. So, well, if you don't want to listen, see you later. Now, if you're still here, let me talk a little bit about this topic. So, we are commanded to be our own agents. So, we're supposed to be learning from this life. We're supposed to be challenged to face difficulties, things that force us to solve problems, struggles. That's part of the main part of why we're here, why we're experiencing this life. We're not supposed to delegate our agency. Our agency is the most important thing that we have. Now think about the word agent, AI agent, and the word agency. We are becoming more and more dependent on the agency of computers. And I don't see this as, there's something evil, lurking in the shadows. I think that in this case it applies Hansel's razor. So computers, I don't think they're evil, I think they're stupid. Right? And they're making us more stupid. My children hear me saying this a lot, and I'm telling them when I was young, if you had a question about anything, you have to remember that question, and if it was important enough, you had to wait until you got home and you go to an encyclopedia and you have to go and search and look. that whole process was so painful. First of all, that you were very picky about what you wanted to learn, right? Because you couldn't do that for everything. But also the effort that requires you to acquire that knowledge made it that you wouldn't forget it, right? It was so important, it was so difficult that you would remember things. With the development of the internet, well, that became awesome if you had that mindset now, because now you didn't have to wait and go, until you go home and make sure that you have an encyclopedia that covered that, and you will find your answer, because you had your answers anytime, anywhere. And that's awesome. That's great. I love the internet. Now, what is the problem? The problem is that the new generations never had to learn the hard way. And believe me, this is not about the good old days. I'm not talking about, oh no, in the past things were better. No, I think there were wars in many senses, but there are certain things that we should strive to keep, and I don't think that we're doing that. So what I tell my children sometimes is they come to me, and they are all adults now, but they will come to me and ask me, oh, where is Zambia? I can tell you. I can show it in a map, or I can describe what it is, but you have your phone. You can look it up yourself. So they didn't even want to do the effort of going, to the internet and answer the question. It was easier to ask it to me. That I learned it the hard way. And this is not exclusive of my children, who are great. They're basically the only ones some of them are watching this video, so hello. But I think it's about the whole generation. So we don't value knowledge. We don't value making decisions. It's easier for us as humanity now to let computers make decisions for us. And as I said, applying handless razor, computers are dumb, are stupid. They have their own goals that are very stupid goals, and I don't think we even understand their goals. Think it this way. If you're watching this video, it is likely that you know me personally, or we have something in common. It's very unlikely that you are in India or in Australia watching me talking about these things. And why is that? So I believe that the things I'm saying are interesting. We could argue how interesting they are. We could argue about the format, having the sound of the ocean in the back, me having to speak louder. This is not kind of the optimized video experience that you're used to, and that's kind of purpose. I don't want to spend hours and hours of my life editing videos just to fit, a certain box that they built, and you have to comply. I want people who listen to this to find it interesting enough to learn something new, or to think about things in a different way, or under a different light. But it's likely that nobody's going to nobody. I mean, YouTube is not going to recommend this to you, most likely, because of all these reasons. It's too long. It has all the algorithm that decides what is worth sharing or not. And again, you can say, yeah, this is not really interesting. You have some hubris here, and you believe that it is more interesting than it really is. Could be true, but let's say that I believe there should be one person in a million that would find this interesting. Would that be fair? 1 in a million. I'm not saying 1 in 10, 1 in 100, 1 in 10,000, 100,000. I say 1 in a million, one person in a million. I think would be finding this content interesting. That would mean, so apparently there's about 2 billion active users in YouTube. That means that on average I should have 2,000 views, complete views of this video. People who find this interesting just because they're stupid or they're crazy like I'm crazy. They share the same kind of craziness. But I don't get that. I get 30 views, 40 views. Why is that? Well, again, it's because the algorithm is not optimized to take you to what you really like, right? It's to take you to what is easier, what it benefits the algorithm, right? And we don't know what that is. I know there's people who are experts in the algorithm. I know they tell you, oh, you have to do this, you have to publish at this time during this day, and your content has to do this, and first you have to post a short, and then do this and that. I don't care. I don't work for YouTube, but on the other hand, well, YouTube doesn't care about me, and it's fine, I guess, but it's a missed opportunity. I remember I was always an early adopter, so I was one of the first people to join Twitter. And one thing that I found really interesting about Twitter was that I could, I had a voice, and I could say things, and those things would resonate with some people. So I had people starting following me, and the fun thing was to try to make hashtags to happen. So usually, always from the side of humor, I would just make a few jokes about something and using a certain hashtag, and then some people would, piggyback on that and use the same hashtag. And it was not unusual that some of the hashtags that I started became world trends. But anybody could do that, right? It was just, the way it worked. So you basically saw everything that was going on, and I cultivated a list of followers. I can remember a few thousands, but not looking for anything, not optimizing, not tricking any algorithm or whatever. It was just posting things that I found funny. For whatever reason, I stopped posting in Twitter for, I don't know, a couple of years. And then I said, oh, that was fun. I had some time. I could go back and try to start doing that again. It was completely different. One thing that I think Twitter became more transparent was to tell you how many people did see what you posted. And it was always zero. No matter what I posted, it was always zero. I don't know why, I don't know what changed, but nobody ever saw what I was posting there. I don't think they were as funny as they were when I did it the first time, and I'm sure that there were a lot of people who would have had at least a chuckle and would, come back, and but we lost that, and I see that happening everywhere. The algorithms are centralizing again for whatever reason the influence. Let's say now that everyone talking about being an influencer, it's very limited. Now at the hotel they had a TV, a Roku TV, and so I put the YouTube channel as a guest because I didn't want to log in with my account. But I was very surprised that most of the content that was showing to me as a guest, so completely ignoring who I am, are the same things that are promoted to me when they supposedly know a lot about me. When I log in, I mean. So yeah, there's some people who learn how to dominate the algorithm, or the algorithm decided who's going to be successful and who shouldn't be considered, which voices shouldn't be considered, which is very, very dangerous for humanity, for diversity of view, for diversity of idea, for competition of ideas. Again, I don't necessarily see a dark hand behind this. I just think that the algorithms are stupid and they're optimizing some things that we don't know. I don't think that even the people who build them know. We're just giving a lot of power to computers, and then we have to deal with those. Well, this has been a long one. I hope you enjoy at least the waves and the people running behind me. I hope that the sound is good enough. But yeah, if you're watching this, I really would like to see what you think. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong and gaining a new perspective about this. In the meanwhile, keep being human, keep learning, keep avoiding agents to do the things that you can do. Not only your jobs, that's for another discussion, how many jobs will disappear, but don't give away your agency to anybody or anything. So that's my strong invitation to you and to me, and well, see you in the next one. Bye.